Hello, everyone, and welcome to Yes Go. I'm your host, Coach A.M. Williams, and this is a show that helps entrepreneurs answer the two biggest questions they entertain on a continuum. Number one, can I do this? And number two, when should I start? The answers are simple: yes and go. And I'm excited to have you here with me today. I'm excited to have you here with me this year. You know why? Because I firmly believe this is your year. This is the year where you get out of your head and start taking massive action to do something amazing. And I'm committed to helping you do that by providing you amazing interviews with amazing entrepreneurs who tell their stories about how they practiced insane courage in the face of adversity, got out of their own way, and did something truly amazing. And today's guest is no exception. Matter of fact, he's probably one of the guys who I look at and say, he's probably the pinnacle of Yes Go. And that is my guy here, CEO. This is a treat for you guys today, because today we have the CEO of BSRN Radio, Chris Cayer. Chris, it's a pleasure having you here with us today.
It's always a delight to have a conversation with you, Am. You know that.
Well, I am so excited to have you on this show, because when we were talking about this show, you were telling me about this concept and we were going through it. And I think in one conversation, we went through just a mastermind, you and I on the phone, and this title came up, Yes Go. And it was like immediately, lock it in. Let's do this. Let's get going.
Can we get the domain name? Yeah.
Yeah, and let's get the ball rolling. And I am so excited, because as a result of the putting the show together, now we're working on our second year. We're working on our second year. And the guests that have come on our show, the entrepreneurs that have been interviewed, they've brought amazing stories. Like it's been amazing for both the guest and the audience, because we get great feedback there as well. And we're even taking that to another level. So lock in, grab your pens, your pads. You're not going to be able to write it all, because like this guy is loaded with stuff that he's going to share. But I can tell you this much: there are going to be so many goodies dropped in this interview that you just want to lock in, cut your phone off. If you're on the side of the road or something, if you're driving down the road, just either do one or two things. Just pull off, because you're going to get a lot of what, or you need to just lock it in and make sure you catch the replay, because this is a true delight for me, having my friend, my mentor, Chris Cayer, on the show. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a great treat for you as well. So let's dive right into it. Chris, one of the things that we do different with this show is that we try to show people a side of entrepreneurship that they don't get on other shows. And that's really the entrepreneur behind the success. We try to get an idea, a true inside look of what that person was dealing with at the time, what they were faced with, what caused them to make the decisions that they made. When they made that decision, what was it like when you finally realized you were off the cliff? And it's like, okay, I got to learn how to fly real quick. So we want to talk to you today. Now, I can say this: BSRN is a successful venture, and there are many things to come. But you have started many organizations, and I can't wait to get into that. But right now, let's just have a moment and allow you to introduce yourself to our listening audience.
Well, thanks so much. My name is Chris Cayer, and I am a competitive intelligence specialist. And what that means for everybody, because very few people have any clue what that job title does at all, is that I find unique opportunities or risks for individuals, organizations, governments, whatever, that they wouldn't ordinarily find for themselves, and then I build and implement projects around that. So why a company would hire somebody like me is because, for example, they got into a major jam and maybe millions of dollars are misplaced or worse. or they find there's an employee who is embezzling and they want to know what's going on, or they find that there's a serious security risk, but they don't have any idea where it's coming from or what it's going to do to their company, or there's something that one of their competitors is doing that's just freaking them out. I'll give you a quick example of that. Many years ago, I had a major business products manufacturer client out of Asia as a client, and they were in the printing industry. And so one of their competitors at the end of the year let their entire global sales staff have the week off at Christmas. Now, this
Mm-hmm.
is something that industry never, ever does, because that's at the end of the calendar year is when all the governments around the world, all the major corporations clean out the last of their buying budgets so that it doesn't get lost in next year's budget. Right? If you don't spend it, you don't get it next year either. So they throw money at whatever they can get in these small, easily buyable products that they can show there's some value to, and that's you want to be there for that big purchasing period, or your commissions suck basically. Your sales for the year are probably a third or two-thirds of what they ought to be.
Mm.
So nobody ever takes that time off, and yet here's a global company in that space giving all their salespeople that whole week off out of the blue.
Mm.
Now, the industry analysts slammed them for it because they said, this is lousy for your sales. You're going to take a big hit. Sell all your stock. And they had to come out with a big PR campaign to say, no. They're just implementing a new ERP system, new accounting system that was going to have the computers down anyway. They couldn't take the orders at that time. So it wasn't a big deal. That's just the convenient time for getting it done for the rest of the company. It won't be that big a hit. They tried to massage it, but nobody in the industry outside of the stockbrokers really bought it. And so my client said, something smells fishy here, but we have no idea what it is, and that scares us. So Chris, will you go look into it? So I did, and it took me 6 months of tracking executives' flight patterns, reading news clippings from all over the world in different languages, trying to get any sense of what's going on anywhere that might explain why this crazy activity was taking place. And eventually, some mayor in northern Brazil was up for re-election. And he announced that the reason he ought to be reelected is because he brought these thousands of construction jobs, which will turn into thousands of jobs manufacturing these printers.
Mm.
Huh. Well, adding a new manufacturing plant isn't necessarily a big deal, but let me find out a little bit more about it so that I can see what's going on. Well, this wasn't just a little plant. This was a titanic plant. This is a game-changing plant.
Mm.
And the reason they did it is because that little town was 50 miles from a deep sea port that was a lot closer from the northern tip of Brazil to Miami than it was from China to LA. So the shipping costs would be dropped by 40%,
Mm.
cutting a big chunk into the overall cost of getting the product into the US. In other words, they'd be able to flood the market with a whole pile of full quality product at a massive discount, a discount so big that nobody could compete with them. They would literally blow every other product maker in that field out of the water.
Wow.
So we ramped up, built our own plant right next door to it that was two-thirds the size, beat them to the punch, hired all the people they were counting on from the local technical universities, which put them back 3 years in their hiring and cost them an extra $1 billion in their implementation. And as a result of that, we wound up with a competitive advantage that leveled the playing field. And now, 25 or so years later, Brazil and Florida, Brazil is Florida's #1 overseas trading partner.
Wow. Wow.
Lots and lots of other companies figured out the competitive advantage at that point, and they built down there as well. So you got scooters, you got perfumes and colognes, you got clothing, you got other stuff, all coming from there because that competitive advantage we were able to exploit.
I tell you, is you and I, we have the pleasure of, of course, I meet with you frequently through about the show. You mentor me as well. And I'm fascinated about competitive intelligence. Don't always completely understand it all, but when you share with me stories like this, it's like, wow, how valuable is that into into an organization when you look at it from a nuts and bolts standpoint and literally, sunk cost versus, I mean, just again, somebody who understands how to be able to go and do the research and understand, from a holistic perspective, why an organization would be doing something like that. I just completely find it fascinating. And look, audience, we just started. Okay. When we come back, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the situation. And I know what you're thinking right now. What? It's going to get deeper than that. I promise you, it's going to get so much better than that. Make sure you stay locked in right here with us on BSRN Radio. This is Coach A.M. Williams. We'll be right back.